let's get right into the conversation of the moment. Do you like the pick of Jordan Love by Green Bay to trade up 4 spots to go get him? Do you like that?
No, I don't. And, partly because this is not a team that went 8-8 with an old quarterback. I'm a big believer in any sport, but in particular in the modern era in all professional sports, when you've got to respect championship windows. And when they come around and when you've got a player that can lead you to a championship, you have to respect it. By the way, it reminds me of The Last Dance that we're watching now.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, how do you not allow them to at least earn it on the court, right? I mean, speaking of the Bulls of the 90s, to me, you're one game away from the Super Bowl in Green Bay. One game. And the last time I checked, Aaron Rodgers wasn't the problem in San Francisco. It was the fact that Mostert is still running, and Jimmy Garoppolo had to throw like negative 47 passes. He was like a barrel of oil, right? I mean, like, he didn't have to do anything, and there were some defensive players there that they could have gotten that I think are really good players, namely those 2 linebackers that went right after them in subsequent picks, Jordan Brooks from Texas Tech, Patrick Queen from LSU. So I understand building for the future. Some people are saying, hey, they're going to get, they've got all these picks in the middle of the draft that can build there. Yeah, but you got to respect the championship window. And now you're going to just make Aaron Rodgers more disheveled, which is not fun.
Yeah, I kind of agree with all of that. I mean, if you want to make it even worse, too, and I pointed it out before, I mean, the Niners, the team that you were talking about, the quarterback that was leaking like a barrel of oil, they went from a position behind from where the Packers moved up to move up in a spot that eventually was one before where the Packers would move up to take Brandon Ayuk and give him to Garoppolo. Brandon Ayuk.
And here's the thing, talking with some of their people, anybody that was around, and this, by the way, remains the same with LaFleur in Green Bay, but also Kyle Shanahan, is that when they watched Brandon Ayuk, they saw Pierre Garçon because they had touched him previously. And so Shanahan had Ayuk as his top receiver on the board, right? Like, it was Ayuk or CeeDee Lamb. And so from his standpoint, he not only goes and gets a weapon that he deemed a position of need, the top wide receiver amongst that position on his board, but it's clearly something that maybe they struggled with, right? You could even say in the Super Bowl they needed another target. It couldn't just be Kittle all day long for Jimmy Garoppolo. They needed a wide receiver, and now with some of the exits that they've had in the offseason, they needed to fulfill that position to respect the championship window, and they did it with a guy that they like. No one can say from Green Bay that pick made them better for next year. That's the problem.
Joel Klatt here on the Rich Eisen Show, and then channel your inner quarterback. So how do you think Rodgers truly is feeling right now? Because we're hearing Brian Gutekunst has not spoken to him, and that could be read in many different ways, because Gutekunst is not going to come out and say, well, I tried him 3 times, and I got sent to voicemail 3 times. So he's not going to say something like that. How do you think Rodgers truly does feel right now?
Well, imagine for a moment, to make just a really bad reference, imagine just for a moment you're Jeff Gordon in your prime, and they give you a car that is not as good as everybody else's car, and they expect you to go win the Daytona 500. How would you feel, right? I mean, give him some weapons. It's like Brady with New England. I think it's what probably soured his relationship in New England. It's like, you want me to do what with what? Guys, you got to give me something here. We won the Super Bowl in New England, and then you gave me nothing to work with, and this is the product of that. And I think that Rodgers has got to be feeling the same way. He had to have felt like they're in prime position to select one of these really quality wide receivers, and they were unable to do that. And this is a deep draft of wide receiver. I'm sure we're going to grab one from a Green Bay perspective later today. But if I was Rodgers, I'd be incensed. I don't have forever to play, and you're going to stick Jordan Love behind me? I needed a wide receiver, and then in response to that, all you gave me was more reporters with more microphones in my face asking me about something I don't want to talk about, which is my backup quarterback. No starter wants to be asked about his backup, ever, period.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.